for joining us for the April 7th, 2022 Mooresville Redevelopment Commission meeting. First, if we could, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a short invocation by Commissioner Taylor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you bow with me? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us be gathered here this evening. Lord, we just ask that as we go through tonight's discussion, please help us make our decisions with a clear mind and for the betterment of the community. And Lord, as we get towards the end of another school year, please help keep those educators and students safe as we travel to and from different activities. Help us finish on another strong year so we can enjoy the upcoming spring and summer weather. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Moving back up, I kind of pulled an executive privilege there. I want to make sure that we did the pledge and our invocation first. So, election of officer, we are vacant a vice president. I will open the floor for nominations for VP of the Redevelopment Commission. Rock, paper, scissors works too.
I'll be willing.
I'll nominate Ryan.
I have a nomination for Ryan Taylor to be vice president. Do I have a second?
I will second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 4-0. I will make a note that we do have a fifth commissioner now, Erin Pipkin. We want to welcome her. She is absent tonight because we gave her 1 day notice of being on the commission, and she had a prior engagement with a family member. So she, again, said sorry, but we can understand her circumstances. Next, the approval of minute from our March 3rd executive session and our public meeting. We'll do these individually. Do I have a motion to accept the executive session minutes as presented?
Make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, our March 3rd public meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion to accept.
I have a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, our March 24th executive session. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes as presented? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All righty, look at us moving. Financial report. Chelsea, would you want to dive in a little bit?
Happy to. I'm going to steal them from you first. I emailed out the financial report earlier today after I received it from the clerk treasurer's office. I will go through the balance for our four accounts. 512, the TIF rental property, $678,529.35. Account 311, the TIF debt service reserve is $470,474.38. 406, which is our redevelopment capital fund, $6,902,289.56. And our gateway construction is still open, but it is a zero balance. So grand total of $8,051,293.29. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have in regards to the financials.
Any questions for Chelsea over the financial report? Do I have a motion to accept the financial report?
I'll make a motion to accept the financial report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next up, Mooresville Consolidated School Corporation Ag Program Update.
while they're walking up here, he might not be happy if I said this, but Dr. Allen is sick. He's also sick at the fact that he was missing tonight, so he sends his apologies for not being here.
Better buy Rutgers, what are they?
These are tomatoes that we grew in our greenhouse from scratch.
Wow.
This will be part of our plant sale that we will have in a few weeks. So obviously you guys don't want to put them outside yet. Our cutoff date, our target date generally is about May 15th, so that's when I would go ahead and put them outside, but you will probably actually start getting flowers in the next week or two. So if you keep them in a nice sunny spot, water them occasionally, you should be able to have tomatoes actually probably by mid-June. So first off, I'd like to thank you guys very, very much for the grant. It has actually been a lot of help for us and to us. So that's the very first thing I'd like to thank you. So right now, we have over 260 kids enrolled in the ag program in both PHMS and the high school. So right now, the classes we offer are Ag Explorers. That's actually a brand new class that we're starting, and I got trained on a new curriculum. We were using a high school curriculum, and we actually now have a middle school curriculum. And again, your grant really has helped launch that because there are so many things that we just didn't have. Most places, when they have an ag program, we're talking about 20 to 40 kids, not 120 for middle school. So when they plan these things, they don't really think budget. One particular assignment they wanted us to do would be about $6,000 by itself if I were to do how they wanted us to do it. Now, obviously, we can reuse that, but it's one of those things that's not really feasible space-wise or anything else for our setup. But your grant has allowed us to make some changes and really get the gist of what they wanted us to do. We also have Principles of Ag, which is in essence Intro to Ag. That's your first class in the high school pathway, graduation pathway. Then we have Plant Science, Advanced Plant Science, Animal Science, Advanced Animal Science, Natural Resources, and Ag Business Management. This year we have about 40 students in the FFA. And students participated in 5 different contests, placed 7th in 2 state contests. The 2 state contests that we placed in this year were horticulture and forestry. Students went to nationals. So we've reorganized our greenhouse. This year, with the former teacher has left, and so it left 2. We have a new high school teacher and then me, and neither one of us have actually done a plant sale before. And so we have just rethought how we're going to do everything. Everything we are growing and selling this year is actually from seeds. And so we've learned and what to do and what not to do. But that's exactly, it's okay because we're teaching the students, hey, we're learning with them. And we're really getting a lot of good learning out of this whole experience. And you can see, if you can go back
Oh,
a
yeah,
slide.
absolutely.
If you go back, actually what you can see right there, those grow beds, that would be what we were, part of your grant went to, because they wanted our middle school students to actually grow a salad. And so the setup they had was about $200 per group of 4. And so we actually ordered these grow beds, and the students actually got to put together these 2x8 grow beds in class. So it was a great opportunity to learn how to use tools because so many of them have never even used a drill or a screwdriver. And so by putting together, it's a prefab thing for the most part, but they still needed to use a drill to drill into the cedar. And we were able to talk about why we're using cedar. So there's so many different aspects of this that it's a side bonus that it's a science class, yes, but there's a lot of life stuff that I'm really trying to teach as we go through there. Okay, and so here, behind there, you can actually see that was a inside grow structure that we built last year. And so again, students helped me do all of that. We built all of that, and the same beds that we saw on the outside is what we have growing in there. And inside right now, we have lettuce growing. We have tomatoes, peppers, carrots, all growing in those beds that we created. Down there on the lower picture, you can see those are two students tending to the lettuce, and on the right is part of the aquaponics system, and we'll see a little bit more pictures. But in a month, when fully operational, we can get over about a bushel and a half of leafy greens in 1 month, grown from this one aquaponics. Right there, what you see is about a month and a half worth of growth from kale.
Can you tell me what you're doing with that then?
That's going to the food pantry. So when we are fully operational, anything we collect, we'll harvest it the day of food pantry, bag it, and then take it down to the food pantry.
Awesome. Very cool.
And that we're kind of trying to, it just, again, learning this year. And so once we figure out, because honestly, part of the problem was it was growing too big. And so I've almost got to limit the amount of stuff I have in there because it was just growing too fast. So again, this has been a really big learning experience. What you're seeing here is actually 2 aquariums that you guys paid for. The first one, the one on the top there, is koi. So we have some koi in there right now. That's what I call our greeter tank. I don't have it yet, but we will get a Mooresville M and put in there. And so it's going to go on the back. And actually, I'm going to get some goldfish. The koi, the plan is maybe in the future get an actual koi pond, put them out, because I will tell you right now, koi are extremely dirty, and I cannot keep that tank clean. And so I want to get them outside. But again, something that the students can create at some point is actually create and taking care of the koi pond. And then that aquarium I'm going to use for goldfish. Again, greeter, it's a great conversation piece. It's a great eye catcher. The other one is an actual, that's my kind of my pet project. That's a native aquarium. And so what you see in there right now, there are 2 bass and a bluegill. Clear Creek Nursery, our fisheries, was very, very kind to us and gave us about 15 fish for that aquarium, and actually gave us all the tilapia as well. They actually donated all of that. And unfortunately, I don't have much left. I'm down to two bass and a bluegill, but it is native fish. The plants you see on the left side there, they just started on the right picture because that picture was taken in August, but the picture on the left there, that's actually lily pads. That is water lilies that I put in there and have actually taken off, and we have about 7 or 8 lily pads now in that aquarium. Here's another project that did not know what I was doing before we started this year, but it's been a great experience. And because of the grant, it's actually helped us. That aquaponic system was actually out in the greenhouse, taking up a lot of valuable greenhouse space. And actually, greenhouses are not great places to keep an aquaponic system because you actually get too much algae growth in the water. So by moving it into the classroom, there's almost no light into that the tank part. And we will probably get, I said 30, but it'll probably be closer to 50 pounds of tilapia this year. We started off with 25. We're probably down to about 12. And I'm going to guess that most of those are 4 to 6 pounds. So that's, again, Clear Creek donated the 25 tilapia, and we've, since August, and lost probably about half, but honestly, probably shouldn't have that many in there. So, but you know what? Again, that water has gone to fertilize everything. We actually grew, and I meant to grab some, we actually grew popcorn in the classroom this year. And it did actually pop. So we grew, but we used the tilapia water to actually water all of the plants and all of the grow beds this year. Now, we haven't used it for the stuff in the greenhouse. We're trying to figure out the best way to transfer, because water's not a very light substance. So if we can figure out a way to transfer that water, but it's actually great fertilizer. And this is the aquaponics, the grow beds that I was referring to. You can actually see the kids actually harvesting it. That's early on, but it's a really eye-opener how much we can actually grow in a year. The grant, actually this week, we were able to buy PVC, because on the picture on the left there, my 8th grade, or my high school plant science class were making their own aquaponic systems. And so we needed something to hang the grow lights from. So because lumber's so expensive, I used the grant this week to buy PVC so we can actually hang the grow lights. So we have student designed aquaponics, and we're going to get goldfish to put in those, and they're going to raise lettuce themselves over the last 6 weeks of school. All kinds of, and this is one of the huge things. It's the technology. Agriculture is not. Yes, it's farming. Don't get me wrong. It's big production farming. It's corns and soybeans. But our students are not those students. Our students, we are teaching. This is based. It's a science class, and so that's how we approach this class. And what you see is one of our students actually testing water. And the grant was allowed us to spend. We've spent probably $3,000 to $4,000 on technology alone, on sensors, teaching these kids how the sensors work, how to use the sensors, what measurements are they getting. And so that's what this grant has really allowed us to do. Models. So one of the big things with the animal science classes, we're actually getting models because it's kind of hard to actually have a chicken and a cow and being able to actually open them up in class. So it allowed us to get a lot of models that we would have been very difficult to get if it wasn't for this grant. So going back to the AgX, some of the really interesting, cool things that's happening with this program, we are doing a lot of it's an explorers class, and that's what the X means. It's actually Ag Explorers. And so we're actually teaching the kids a lot how much different ag is. What you're seeing in these pictures, the students are actually testing fabric. So we've got 7 different fabrics, which are all obviously grown or raised: leather, silk, cotton, linen, burlap, and they were actually going through and testing those. And the other picture, we actually made biodegradable plastic. So we made plastic out of soybean oil, which I didn't realize it's just vegetable oil until I went to 3 different stores and then finally read the instructions, and cornstarch. So it's cornstarch and soybean oil, and you heat that up and it actually turns into biodegradable plastic. So it's showing the students, hey, this is how you make this stuff, and then it's a great comparison. Okay, how is biodegradable plastic versus traditional plastic? What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? So all of these classes and all of these curriculum is loaded with these things that allow us to really give the kids a great opportunity to learn and understand that agriculture is not just cows and corn anymore. How this is actually, it is a science class, and I call it the fun science. So it's all the stuff where we get to get our hands dirty, and we get to show, hey, this is how things are going. And honestly, we still have a little bit left of the grant, and there's all kinds of things that we still need to do. We're still going to do. There's future plans that we have for this program. And so one of the things you can see up here, we'd love to because the new teacher this year is really big into welding and small engines, and that's his background. He's starting to teach his classes how to weld. We need to get a hood for the welding, because right now you can see that they're welding outside. So they're either welding outside or they're welding in the greenhouse. Well, there's actually a spot in our building that was designed for welding, but they took the hood out, so we need to replace that hood. And so the grant money's got to go to help put that hood back in so our students can learn how to weld. And they are getting all kinds of experiences, which is going to benefit the community, because there are actually community members now who've reached out to us and said, hey, do you guys have kids in your program to come work for us or come partner with us? And this is before we even had these classes implemented. So that's where we are headed right now with our program. You guys have any questions?
I just want to say one leg of economic development is providing a workforce for the companies that we're trying to attract. And I'm excited that as a redevelopment commission, we've been able to partner with you, the schools, to do just that, to help educate our students so that we have that workforce for the businesses we're trying to attract. So thank you for being that willing partner.
Oh, honestly, it's for me, and I come from actually a long line of educators. For me, it's actually exciting when it's relevant. And I love relevant education. And that's what I really like about this program. Because I was a middle school teacher for 18 years before I jumped out to this. And I loved teaching science, but it's even more exciting to actually teach stuff that the kids can use in the future.
Real quick, if you don't mind, I keep seeing a photographer to take our picture in front of this nice seal for maybe the gentleman in the front row or at least the town Facebook and website. If you guys want to join us up here, anybody that wants to come up and
Grab your tomatoes.
yeah, I was going to say. I made a note. I was like, do not plant or kill this one.
Or you could just come buy some here.
I don't think I've ever picked up a camera that I didn't do that.
Forget the lens, yeah.
Yep, you can. You can.
Oh, good idea with the chairs, yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want the seal to be seen, or is it?
I don't. It's just tradition there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
That's great.
Thank you.
It is.
I could have put your chairs back since I moved them all away.
No.
Before you leave, the instructions were don't plant this yet?
May 15th. I have it wrote down.
May 15th, or if you can see that, hey, we're not gonna get really cold anymore, you can start.
Gives you trust in you.
I was going to say, so like June?
Probably.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you, guys.
Wonderful
Thanks for
presentation.
coming. Thanks.
Does your other commissioner want her tomato?
Yeah, we can definitely try to get it to her.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have two more, so I will leave these for you, and you can distribute them as needed.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
I don't know what you heard. I heard I got a backup plan. All righty, the not so fun stuff, old business. Business center update, shell building update. I'm thrilled to announce that the shell building has a purchase agreement. It is full asking by a biopharma company named Dawson Logistics. Yeah, so I'm going off the top of my head, sorry. Again, full asking. Oh, even better. I was going to kick it to you on that one.
You can do it.
Gee, thanks. They want to bring in 25 jobs. Again, this is biopharma. 25% of those jobs are 35,000 to 60,000. 50% are in 60 to 100,000, and the remainder 25% are above 100,000 in their salaries. Again, we've had a lot of interest. We've said before, don't get nervous, because we knew that we had pages of interested parties. We just needed one to beat everybody else. And it looks like we've discussed this. We went back and forth on it. We've kind of come to mostly terms. How does the commission want to proceed with Dawson with this purchase agreement that's in front of us. Commissioner Taylor.
I think after the discussions and the proposal, the potential for growth in the area, not only with just jobs, but what they provide in the area and their networking, I propose we move forward.
I'm in favor of moving forward as well. They sound like the jobs are very well paying jobs, and it sounds like a good type of industry to bring to town.
I think it sounds like a cornerstone piece of what we're looking for when we're talking about a business park. And we have a lot more land to market to, hopefully, businesses that are similar. So I'm in favor, definitely.
To piggyback off of that, I think Dawson, everybody sees the gigantic Shell building when they come into town from the south side. Having such a high threshold in their salaries, they could bring a diverse group of interest, maybe off of their partners and things like that. But again, my big thing, $4,978,400 full asking, and it's high-paying job. So I will entertain a motion to accept this purchase agreement from Dawson.
I would make a motion that we accept the purchase agreement from Dawson.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We no longer have a Shell building. Chelsea, do you want to add anything about Dawson as I walk
No.
down?
Sorry. No, so Adam, do you want to go through just a few of the legalities of the process, entering into the purchase agreement, and what that really means moving forward?
Oh, sure. I mean, so they do have an inspection period, 60 days. They have $100,000 earnest deposit. They are allowed to extend the inspection period. I think each one requires another $50,000 sum to be deposited. Given that it is, it's already zoned, it's already all ready to go. The property is as is, where is. So inspecting, that's what you get. I mean, it's an empty building. It's new construction. I wouldn't anticipate any issues. The reason why they did get 60 days, we wanted initially a less amount. However, the timing to get all the professionals on site, do the survey, get whatever they need, the turnaround time is just a little slower these days. So there is that period, but otherwise we'll close. There's some documents that that are the exhibits that we'll record, like the easements and everything will be kind of finalized at closing. But otherwise, you'll get a check for the full purchase price at closing.
And they've not asked for any additional anything above?
No abatements or anything like that.
No? Again, sigh of relief almost. Well, we can mark that off our agendas, it looks like, hopefully. Next, brokerage service request for proposal.
One thing we've been talking about is really the rest of the property, the Mooresville Business Center, and what makes the most sense moving forward. So I discussed with Chairman Stanley the potential for exploring whether or not it makes sense to enter into brokerage services. So we do have a broker for the Shell building, but it is only for the Shell building lot. So basically teeing up to you whether or not you would like me to create a request for proposals from brokers to explore how they would really market the remainder of the property. Again, it's roughly 100 acres now. That's not all usable. but how they would market the property, price the property, the whole thing, and really take us through that. And I will say our brokers for the Shell building, Cushman and Wakefield, Michael Weiser and Ryan Baker, they've really done a great job. I've constant communication. Michael's on vacation. Actually, they're both on vacation this week, and they've stunk it being. I feel bad for their families because I've talked to them a lot. So they've really been great communicators and have done a great job. So I think there's definitely been value for us with the Shell building, and this really came through them. So something whether or not the commission would like to move forward with me creating a request for proposals for brokerage services for the remainder of the property.
We'll start at the end. I'm used to it.
Yeah, I would go ahead and say, make the request for proposals. I think the more we can market that property, definitely in this environment, the better it'll be.
I agree. I think going through a broker, we're more likely to get up-to-date current values out of it.
What types of things are we asking them to present? I mean, what are we, in a request, what are we asking for? What are we looking for?
So when I say request for proposals, so there's two approaches you could really put. I put on the agenda a request for proposals, so that's one route, or it could just be a request for qualifications, just kind of the other route. So that's more so them just saying, I'm qualified to do this, pick me. Where proposals, normally there's a little more time and effort spent with them kind of selling their services. What would they provide should we go with them? Which is why I went with a request for proposal route. It's just kind of insinuated in the process. How would you market it? Where would you price it? What would your approach be to taking down the rest of the property? So.
How many potential brokers are out, in our area that we might be looking at?
Well, I think it would be, I think there are some local brokers, and then, obviously Cushman and Wakefield, they're really out of Indianapolis. I know Collier's represented us when we sold Southbridge. There's several in and around the area. I have several contacts that I would definitely be sending it to. And we do have a banker who also had a few contacts that he would recommend we send it to. So, it would go to a wide swath. It's not like I have a...
My hope is that we're able to make sure that local brokers have a chance to...
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Of course, yep.
Do I have a motion to send Chelsea on a hunt for proposals for brokerage services?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chelsea. High Street, State Road 42 signal pole discussion. Oh, which one do you want me to do? This one or this one? No, go ahead.
I can provide the NDOT update if you'd like for me to do
Yeah,
that.
do the NDOT,
Okay.
please.
So I did send you separately in an email all the information that I've received from NDOT regarding closures. I believe I sent everything out prior to it actually closing, but they were very on time. As Chris Branson at Carlisle and Branson pointed out to me. So Phase 4 construction is from Indiana Street to Madison Street, and that will be from April through July is the expected time frame. Phase 5 construction is from Madison Street to South Street, and that will be July through November. So I just wanted you guys to have what information had been provided to me by NDOT. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Chances are good I don't have the answer, but I will ask NDOT what the answer is.
This is just a heads up that they're doing something.
Yes.
Not
this is
for anything
the-
us to approve or.
No, correct. This is just, as we've been a part of the High Street project and making sure, I know the town's done a pretty good job of pushing that information out there with the street closures, but wanted just to make sure that I had you guys up to speed as well. Nothing to approve, just informational purposes only.
I'll do my here in a little bit. Any questions on the schedule? Brownfield assessment grant.
This point, it's sort of in a holding pattern. We're supposed to have lunch with SME next week,
Monday,
I
yeah.
believe. Yeah, on Monday. Initially, we thought that there was going to be a need to get a really quick grant together, but it looks like they have moved the date for when we can have that grant back probably till the fall. So we have more time to put this together. We're going to meet with them and talk about next steps.
I am anxious to see, it sounded to me when we first met that the summer period was what made us eligible and more attractive. So I'm anxious to see what pushing it to the fall does, if anything, to moving forward. So
The extra amount of money was what he thought would
Yeah,
make us
right.
eligible.
Right.
The quick turnaround, he thought, gave us a better chance.
Right, yeah. So,
We'll see.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Future project list update. We are lacking a new commissioner, and also we just had the exciting news that may have prompted a change in thought. So it's up to the commission on how we move forward.
I want to have further discussion. I think I don't know that we make a decision today, but I definitely want to bring up something that, as I've talked to a lot of people in the last month, the building on the corner, the tornado building, is
Trying to wave this off.
trying to wave it off. Well, it is something that is on the minds of pretty much everyone in Mooresville, and it is one of those places that I know we have. One of the issues we've said why we ignore it as a redevelopment commission is because if private development is going to do it, then they should. It's been 2 years and we're still sitting there. I think it's worth further discussion as to what we might be able to do to help that along.
So I talked to Dave Moore about weekly about it. Right now, the gentleman who owns it has had several offers. However, he had a contractor, he spoke to the town council, he had a contractor come up, say they were going to do it, and they kind of bailed on him. He's hired an attorney to get out of that contract while simultaneously getting a contractor up here late in almost, the beginning of the construction season. He is hopeful to have it done. The town is, their time frame, the permits are about April. So he has about this time, the end of April, could be beginning of May. About time of our next meeting, we'll have more firm of an answer. He is kind of a local guy, doesn't have flush with cash, and when you hire somebody and they kind of, then you get an attorney and you get into those fees, it's not, I hate to say it may not be his fault in a way, but I know a lot of people have brought this up, and I encourage, anybody that wants to know anything about it, Dave Moore is really good. He contacts him about every other day on a time frame, so.
And what you're talking about is primarily the demolition. Has there been anything said about what might happen after that happens?
Yeah, a lot of lawsuits because the exterior of the building of 5 East is not supposed to be an exterior wall. Again, he's had several people, I'm trying not to divulge too much, to come up, and I don't know of a firm plan. I don't think he would ever give that to me anyway.
Is there anything within the realm of the RDC? I mean, he takes it down. I mean, what's next with that? What's next with it? I mean, It's on our list of potential things. That's,
Right, so, it may be your list. I think the private sector needs to do what the private sector does, but that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people don't like that. I welcome them to go buy the building then. It's entirely up to the commission on that building in particular, as well as other projects.
Adam, you look like you have something on the tip of your tongue.
Oh, I mean, I thought you were looking at me for something, so. I mean, if you're asking legally, well, you can go through the procedures of buying it. You can't condemn it or force him to do anything. I mean, if he is not a willing seller, there's not much we can do, but if he is a willing seller, then you could buy it or buy it, demolish it, resell. Those are your options, but that's pretty much, if he's willing, you'd have to go through the process to amend the, economic development plan and all the procedures, get appraisals, go through all of that. I would recommend not doing that until he has agreed to sell it, so but that's pretty much your options.
I don't think it's anything for this meeting. Since we do have the thought that it hopefully something will happen by the end of this month, beginning of next. Okay.
I know that there has been discussions on the town using the unsafe building ordinance. That was batted around. Again, you're going to get multiple different opinions on doing that.
A lot of my thought process is one of the things that we've talked seriously about. We want this is that the next piece we want to make Main Street match Indiana Street. What good does it do us to make Main Street match Indiana Street if you have an eyesore that it really detracts from development and people wanting to come down here anyway? So I don't know what might be within that plan where we can do something hand in hand, but
Again,
I think that's, I think opening the discussion is probably the most important piece right now, and it seems like one of the things that we want to make public is there is movement in the background. It just may not be as fast as everyone wants it, but we want to make sure that it's not sitting there doing nothing and nobody's doing anything to remedy it. Thinking of it as a banker, if it were ever to come to where we were an interested party, one thing we have to be careful of is there's already some legal dominoes that are in play right now. And Adam, I think you said it best. We want to make sure we don't do too much, and he's not even an interested seller. But I think if we were to make that investment, we need to have something in place as what we're going to do with it. How's that going to benefit the town? We don't want to purchase it and then it sits because we don't know what we want to do with it. If we can open the dialogue with the owner, and it sounds like there already is an open dialogue, just to make sure that we're informed, and with our network, if there's an interested party that could move on it right away, the more networking we have, I think that might remedy the situation a little bit quicker. But I think the most important thing is just the communication that something is happening, but there's a lot of dominoes that have to fall into place.
I'm scared to give the gentleman's name out because he'll be bombarded. I welcome everybody to, contact Dave Moore, street superintendent for the town. He's in contact with them quite often, at least every other day.
Right.
Again, I've already talked to him this week about it. Try not to bug Dave too much.
Yeah.
He's his busy season, so, and he's got a new street sweeper to play with, so.
Yeah.
Anybody that has any questions about that building, by all means, contact Dave Moore, and he can divulge probably a little bit more. I tend to err on the side of caution because.
And I think in this situation, you have to, because not only is it not a quick and easy fix, but the neighboring building next door, it's a delicate situation for them as well. So.
It is, and I mean, just imagine, you own an apartment and, something happens to it, the apartment next door is not ready to take, it's not an outside wall, so.
Yeah.
That was brought up publicly in a town council meeting, so. I'm not, discussing anything out of school there, so. What other discussion about, project list? Any other new thoughts that we haven't discussed of that, we went on spring break or vacation, so we had time.
Just noting through the list, I like the list. I really don't have a whole lot to add to it. Seeing how things are changing, and obviously, safety's always been a concern, but it seems like more now. You want to feel safe when you go out at night, and lighting along the streets, having that accessibility. Those are kind of the two highlight points on my list. Making sure it's bright, clean, making sure the sidewalks are easy accessibility. Because if you have those two things, people are going to be attracted more downtown, because we do have some nice places to visit downtown. So if I could just kind of asterisk those two things.
And Chelsea, if I recall, when we talked about the Main streetscape, that there were some time frames that once we do decide to start with it, it's still going to take X amount of time to get from this point to this point to this point for bids, et cetera. So, we keep kicking this can down the road just because we don't have a full commission. At what point have we kicked it far enough that it's really far out there? Like another whole year.
We may already be there.
Already there?
If we want, so typically, and I have it on our potential timeline, if you look at Main Streetscape, and this is Chelsea Mann's in my experience of doing other projects in the past. I am not an architect, I am not an engineer, but once an engineer is selected, which I would think that we would likely want to probably do an RFP process to select an engineer, so we're talking a few months to tell me to create an RFP to interview engineers, to select an engineer, and they're going to need probably 4 to 6 months to design. And typically, you want to bid these projects at the end of the construction season to get best pricing, for basically to be on their A list for the beginning of the next year. That's not the way it has to be done. We could bid it whenever we want to bid it, but just know that if you're not bidding it in October-ish for a March construction season beginning-ish, that your pricing is typically, people are trying to fit you in when they've already got a list of clients to do for the year. So at this point, I think it would be really difficult to, my opinion, even have a 23 construction season unless we were able and willing to go above, just knowing we're not gonna be ready to bid by October, so somebody's gonna be trying to fit us in, and we're probably gonna be paying higher prices to do that. So I think best case scenario at this point is we would be looking at a 24 construction season, even if we pulled the trigger in the next month or so to start the process of securing an engineer, going through the RFP process, selecting an engineer, them designing. To get the best pricing, you really want that October bid.
So the answer is we don't have to be in a hurry because we've already kicked it far enough to.
Again, that's not to say we can't do it. I'm just telling you now that if you want best pricing, anybody tells you that you need to have it done. You bid it in at the end of the season so that you get on. Everybody's competitively bidding those instead of trying to fit in extra projects.
The town's 200th celebration is 2024.
Wow.
It would be compressed, but if we started that RFP process like now, maybe we could complete that in the end of May and have the engineer work on it towards October.
Dustin, you make a great point. Yeah.
I sat there and I was like, wait a minute, that's,
Yeah, I'm not saying other things aren't possible. I'm just telling you, best case scenario,
Yeah.
this is, I think, how we structure it from my
There's
experience.
variables
I
that
think-
I'm scared of.
I think we have to, I think we have to put out the RFP now and see if we can get there. I think we have, knowing that the 2024 is the 200th, I think we have to try.
And, not to throw another wrench in things, but if you look at High Street as an example, now I'm not saying we're gonna go bridge to bridge. It will be a
Yeah.
smaller scope.
Yeah.
But that was 2 construction seasons.
Yeah.
So phasing, I again, not an engineer, but we probably wouldn't look to shut down Maine from pick a point on the east side of Indiana, pick a point on the west side of Indiana, and, so there's lots of things to consider. And some of that we won't know until we get into it. I mean, some of the phasing, the engineers are gonna suggest how to do that and what makes the most sense. So,
We don't necessarily want it to be under construction in 24.
no, and that's why so, lots of things to consider.
Could you build like incentives in there? If it's done in 23, it's this much. If it runs into 24, then.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
They can do anything for a price.
we didn't sell
Question
5.
Or maybe
Yeah.
go the other way. If it runs into 24, there's.
I mean, we typically, and Adam can jump in on this, but on all the projects that we have, I mean, there is an end date, and it's typically a 100 to 500. I think we even had $1,000 per day penalty if the contractor doesn't meet that. So it's not to say we can't do it. Again, it's not as big of a project as what High Street is going
And
to
some
be.
of it's going to depend on the scope of how much we actually want to
Right.
do.
Right.
I mean, one of the things certainly is replacing the brickwork to match.
Right.
Which when
Lighting.
we do that, I want to make sure that we bid that to local people too.
Not quite that easy.
Not that, okay, well, that should be in the discussion.
But giving them an opportunity,
That
understood.
should be in the discussion.
Typically, how the bids work and how we've done it in the past, at least, is you can say that we would like certain kinds of bricks used, especially since we have a local brick maker. We can technically, but I'm just.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not
You're gonna
quite
have
that
to do
easy
the-
But yes, we
There's
actually
room-
give everybody the opportunity.
There's room for discussion within that, so, okay.
Well, I mean, I can't think of any time that you don't have to take the most responsive low bidder. I think you might be thinking about our ability to pay more for
Maybe that is
for
what I'm
property
thinking
than,
about.
but if we bid a project, then we have to take the lowest responsive bidder. We have the ability to pay more for real estate than the appraisals. That's what does you.
I'm not suggesting I want us to overpay for local.
Right.
I'm suggesting that we make sure they have the opportunity to bid.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I will say that you're also really talking about a town project. So you're, when you guys are talking, and I'm thinking you're more speaking of you're fronting the bill for the town to undertake those projects.
How did it work with the first gateway? Is that how it was with the first gateway? Or the first part of the gateway? I mean,
When was that?
I guess Indiana. You could argue State Road 67. I think the best
Indiana's.
approach, my suggestion would be a subcommittee. Unless Adam has a better suggestion, between the commission and the council, because if we've learned anything, I think we've learned that if this body goes forward with things that the town council doesn't fully support, the end product is not what anyone initially anticipated.
Hey, do I get to throw another wrench in things? There's an election in 3 weeks and the entire council could change.
Well, I don't think our process is gonna be, solid enough to,
Just throwing it out there that
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
subcommittee could drastically change and thought processes along the way. So what we can do is mark off things that we can look at in the future, prioritize some things. I put the dog park on there. It kind of circled back up. I heard through the chatter, which I don't always pay attention to because I can't keep up with the timeline. The timeline of, constantly moving everything through that chatter. The dog park, to just remind everybody, we had an open discussion. We put this online. We invited the public. We talked about all these things. These were kind of everything in a nutshell. Put potential timeframes, and the dog park was one of the lowest responders. I know it's a nice amenity and everything for a community to have, but it seems like the overall public during those discussions, the surveys online, the open house and everything, we can almost just cross that off.
I think that's more along the lines of something that the Parks Department needs to do, frankly.
Well, and that's exactly, we had members of the Parks Department there, and
Yeah.
they kind of looked at that and said, we also have other priorities, and so, it's of my opinion that we look at that in the future. That is a smaller project. Maybe we could, make a side note that, it doesn't take as long as the others. It is only a 1.5 year construction potential, probably low cost, but the parks will have to maintain it and their budget will also have to maintain it.
Update street lighting, does that go along somewhat with the Main Street redo, or that, were we talking about more lighting than just on Main Street?
I think the original discussion was updating to LEDs to save, what was it, 76,000 a year in electrical costs, something like that.
I'm not gonna throw out numbers because I don't remember.
Well, we missed the boat on the one part, on the
Yes.
money-saving piece when they were,
already here.
when the circus came to town and they did multiple cities at once, I think.
I think I see where you're going, is to try to blend some of these ideas into one larger project.
That's my thought process.
Ryan, Commissioner Taylor, was that something you wanted to prioritize? You asterisked a couple, but could we specifically look at downtown? You mentioned, updating,
Yeah.
and, some of the lights are already updated. Getting that pulled up is, let's mark that down as part of what could be the Main Street upgrade or project. Dana, you had some very ambitious
Yeah, well-
ideas.
Well, and you mentioned the surveys and things we did, and it did, I haven't looked at them this week, but when I looked at them last, the two of these that kept coming to the top with most responses were the trails, which on here we've got plus 2 years, so maybe that's like a medium project, and then the old industrial area, which would be a long-term project down the road. But
Since we've kind of made this list, the town has entered into a comprehensive and thoroughfare plan. We are forming a committee, and side note, you guys expressed interest, I threw out your names. That's all I can do. There was 4 or 5 others in the room throwing out list of 20 to 25 people, and we can only put like 15, so. I did do that, but I will find everybody a potential happy home somewhere in that plan. In that comprehensive and thoroughfare plan, specifically, there are gonna be portions targeted. Some of the town is already, the MPO, things like that have already, engaged in that. Banning Engineering's working on that. So that old industrial area is definitely one of the ones that I know we specifically, like I said, I was using a Sharpie and kind of highlighted, this could be a potential area of emphasis. So, but that's just a comprehensive plan. That's a
Right.
guidance.
Yeah, that's saying this is, it's basically doing what we said, what I've been saying. We'd like to see something done.
Yes, it allows the town to come knock on our door more. Again, 5 to 10 years, comp plan could take, at least a year. So, well within the realm of possibility there.
But making Main Street look nice and updating street lighting isn't going to be something that is gonna contradict what is in a comprehensive plan, though.
No.
Those pieces aren't.
No, and again, we had a steering committee meeting to put members in the right places, and, there was quite the discussion, sometimes colorful, of who different sides want to do this for Mooresville. So we have investors, we have bankers, we have, engineers, entrepreneurs, town officials, public safety. There's so many different pieces to that. The comp plan is going to be led by about 50 individuals, I imagine. So there's going to be a lot of discussion, and sometimes, again,
Yeah, the Main Street
it's
streetscape that he just mentioned, the only way I would really see that intersecting with the thoroughfare plan is if it was more than just prettying up. If we were going to do something with the intersection, then there would be.
No, we've done a traffic study.
Right.
That they're basing their opinions, a lot of it, off of. Again, we didn't dive in specifically, but nothing that I saw preliminary really would be affected by this. We're talking major thoroughfares, like how do we get trucks diverted faster to 67 up and down, away from, this intersection? How do we work with Plainfield? How do we work with all the counties we touch with? Monrovia, we got to work with Monrovia sometimes, and so they brought up some good ideas, some very grandiose ideas. Some ideas I was like, holy cow, that probably won't be done in my lifetime. But nothing that I saw day one. Now again, day one, a couple hours into it, of a year plus project would be affected by that. And we're talking, a pretty small piece of, we're doing more safety-oriented and decorative stuff versus rerouting an entire area. Right. And we have a traffic study that basically said, here's our suggestions already. So
would it be prudent to make a motion to form a committee with town council and redevelopment commission members to discuss the next steps of a Main Street streetscape / street lighting project?
I think that would be excellent, given, I know that shell building was one of the big priorities, but, our timeframes are a little tighter.
Can we consider that a motion then? I make a motion that we.
I will do as you want.
That we form a committee to discuss, form a committee with the town council to discuss the Main Street streetscape and update of street lighting.
Yes, but can I bring up a small piece real
Please.
quick? At the last town council meeting, if you didn't watch the fun and frivolity of that one, the 4 members of the town council asked if we could look at moving the light pole up here at Indiana and Main. We have diverted some trucks. It has helped. There's quite discussion on how much it's helped. It has been hit. I don't know how many tickets, citations, insurance claims, or anything like that that's been done. You can FOI request and go down that rabbit hole if you really want. I'm going to pass on that one. This quote has been sitting around for a while. It's newly dated, just to update the totals. But it's moving, Dave Moore said, roughly 8 to 10 feet. Pushing it further back. Again, there's a private business there. So
Don't they have like a decorative planter?
It
kind of
is
thing
hers.
Right there
It's
where he
still
wants to
hers.
put this.
that is her private property. We do have a right of way there. Dave Moore said, you know, it couldn't be done. My suggestion is if we're gonna look at Main Street thoroughfare plan, or the Main Street update, why don't we just move the entire pole maybe to another corner? There's, you know, I have heard, I have not dove into myself, that the infrastructure's already there. Chelsea, I don't know if you know of any corner.
Talking about,
See, now we have to take a field trip and go look,
I
right?
know, that's,
Are we talking about putting a longer mast off of one of the poles that's already there to cover that? Is that what you're saying? I guess
Well-
I'm not quite sure.
So if we just move it back,
Right.
there's potential, again, traffic study said we need to just take out some of the parking spots on the downtown businesses. This pushes it back 8 to 10 feet, so maybe in, you know, a new mast arm, you know, if somebody were to drive a truck, maybe they can, you know, instead of making it such a tight turn, they have a little bit more turning radius to make it round. Again, there is a traffic study that gave a recommendation. They looked at several things. If we're gonna take on a full project, maybe we fold this in and look at other options as well, because
Yeah, I have no problem folding this into the project, but I think we gotta talk about it more, just in part because we're talking about essentially, I mean, we're really looking to essentially take property away from someone. I mean, we have right of way, but
could, I
Are
don't
we?
know. I'm not an engineer. Dave Moore is far better at, you know, I really wanted to, again, take a field trip with a piece of sidewalk chalk and say, Dave, where are you gonna put this thing? I'm gonna show it.
conceptually, I'm having a hard time envisioning exactly where it's
And-
saying, and Adam's raising his hand over there.
Yes.
Like the other street stuff, this is really a town project. I mean, I doubt any of you do know exactly where those right-of-ways end, where will this solve it? This bid or offer or whatever is expired. It doesn't look like this was actually bid. You need engineers, everybody to tell you, I don't know what NDOT or anybody else has any interest. You can finance this. By that I mean is you can pay for the town to undertake it, or pay that bill. But as a redevelopment commission project, it's really more a town project. They have the resources and all the knowledge to know where it wants to go, what they want to see, if they need, you know, interests in land to be able to move it to somewhere. They have those abilities. We don't have, I mean, you're not really equipped to do any of that, which they are, and it's their sort of light bulb, but you can pay the cost to do it.
So what I heard is the subcommittee
Yeah, and that's,
can
I,
pretty much consider.
I like the idea of what you said, wrapping this into the subcommittee.
Yep, I think if anything, you know, I know some are not gonna be pleased with that, we're not writing a check today, we're gonna have somebody out here tomorrow. I don't think that was ever really an expectation, but let's look at options, maybe another corner makes sense, maybe, you know, I definitely don't like the idea of, you know, taking, you know, parking spaces away to make turn lanes and things like that, so, maybe, you know, as a part of this committee, Dave Moore needs to be, or one of, you know, his, he can far better explain and can point on a map, this is where we are, and so maybe, get Dave Moore involved in this as well. I'm making a note.
For the record, yes, Dave Moore would absolutely be involved. He was involved with Indiana Street. Has to be. Absolutely have to be involved from a street
I'm
standpoint.
so happy that I get to volunteer Dave for more work.
There is a motion on the table.
I just want to include, I was told to.
Yes.
So I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
When would you like, I assume 2 and 2 or 1 and 1?
2 and 2 and Dave, that makes 5.
There you go.
Hey, wait, I have to be in there too.
Oh, and Chelsea, so 6. Yes,
Sorry.
sorry. Didn't mean to
Unless
forget
you
you.
guys want to do it all, that's fine. but-
No, we need you there.
You want to take volunteers now?
I don't make votes, for the record. I just do what you tell me to do, so I'm not really one of the 5.
I'll be on that committee.
Do I have anybody else? Okay. Brian Culp and Dana Heidenreich will be the redevelopment's subcommittee participants. I don't need a motion for that, so we're good, right?
And in 2 weeks, hopefully, we'll get our town council subcommittee.
Well, yeah, I will bring it up at the next town council meeting.
Okay.
Not saying that I have a feeling, but I'm super happy, honestly, that you guys are doing it. Thank you guys for taking some work, because with 2 of you there, I can't be there. That would be a quorum, so, woo-hoo.
Yep.
Appreciate that so much. Alrighty, we'll move forward with those, that larger project.
And I don't know that our future project list is, I mean, we still need to move forward and have more discussion about the other things on it.
Yep.
It's just, those are probably kicked down the road more.
Yes. Unfortunately. Alrighty, moving on, new business, April 15th Redevelopment Commission report. Chelsea.
You were provided a copy of the April 15th report. This is a statutory requirement of every redevelopment commission due in Gateway by April 15th of every year. It's basically an annual report of the previous year, so it's all about our 2021 activities. So goes through everything from members to expenditures, balances, a written report of activities, and then each of our accounts, funds paid out of those accounts, our bond obligations, updating outstanding amounts, what was paid from what. That also includes our installment contract, which is our BOT agreement on the Shell building. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I will say I prepare this. I then send it to Attorney Storwald and the Clerk Treasurer's office to verify all of my numbers. I, of course, get the numbers first from the Clerk Treasurer's office. They provide me spreadsheets of expenditures so that I can do the math, and then they double check everything, and Attorney Storwald checks everything as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, but it's really just a general report of our 2021 activities that will be uploaded in Gateway. Yes.
That was gonna be my thing. I was gonna say, somebody will inevitably ask where they can find it. Once uploaded, you could go to the Gateway and find it. Any questions about the April 15th Commission report? I will entertain a motion to accept the report.
That motion?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Legal update.
No real legal update. There was no major legislation at all this year for redevelopment commission, so that always makes it.
Managerial report, Chelsea?
I do have a few things. Going back to the Shell building, if you have driven past it, you've seen a roller out there, some equipment. We're getting ready for the grading and the seeding, as well as that base asphalt layer. So that should be completed in the next few weeks. I did have a call with NDOT that I did just want to bring to everybody's attention. If you'll remember, we received a covenant from NDOT for a signal at Merriman and State Road 67. We actually last year designed that signal, and it's been sitting in NDOT's desk for a really long time. Now, we haven't been to a point where we have needed it. We have the covenant, it's not warranted at this time, but I was trying to get our ducks in a row so that when it was, we had all the pieces in place so that we could just build it essentially. So I had a call with them, just as things have changed, the landscape out there has changed, projects have fallen through. It still stands once the threshold is reached. So once we get some tenants out there, we may need to update some of our traffic counts and provide them back to them. And then again, once the threshold is reached, there will still be the signal out there. They were gonna check, it's been almost a year, I think, since we submitted the plans. So they were going to check on that. Again, it's not really a big deal because we're not really ready to build, but yeah. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. And outside of that, I think that is, oh, I will also mention the Broadband County Survey. So on behalf of the county commissioners and the Morgan County Redevelopment Commission, I have been working on a broadband, kind of we'll call it a broadband study, to get a better understanding of underserved and unserved areas in the county. So we did go live with a survey this week. I want to make sure that we get it on the town website, which I don't think it is yet. But for all citizens in the county to fill this out from their home, because there is an upload, there's a test to do with your internet to see where you are from upload and download speed. We want to make sure that our citizens have adequate, affordable broadband. And so I did want to plug that because even though technically that's on my county list of projects, it is for countywide and it impacts everybody, and we want to make sure that everybody has service. So
Affordable, reliable service.
yes.
Just saying that because I took the survey, wanting to pursue that. Definitely helps some of our projects down the road. Anything else, Chelsea?
That is all I have.
Before the review of claims, there's been a lot of information. We do have a couple members of the public, which usually doubles what we usually have. So I wanted to make sure that they had a chance to speak. So any questions on the behalf of the public?
Yes, I definitely do. First of all, thank you all for your public service to the community. I'm real excited. I moved here. I'm planning on retiring here. This is the first time I ever bought my own place. And it's also very rare for me to be this still and this quiet for an hour and a half. So, but it really is nice being with a group of people that are looking to make the community better. I'm interested in getting involved. I kind of don't know where to start. I'm a little overwhelmed. I understand that if the dog is the community, why do it, right? The thing is, though, that I think a lot of times, like for instance, myself, I didn't know about an open house. It could be that I haven't lived here long enough. I'm going on 5 years. But I didn't know about an open house where you could come in and chime in that it's important to you. I've been on those chat pages, it's kind of a thing of mine, and people are like, oh yeah, I love a dog park. And I'm like, oh, well, come to the redevelopment meeting. Let's just put the word out.
Yeah, so with that open house, that project list began last year.
Okay.
We put it in the paper, we put it online, we advertised it online, on Facebook, everything. Websites, everything, yeah.
I shared it on all the chatter pages. It was out there.
And if I could just throw out one more thing, here's just a thought. I know Plainfield and Martinsville both have dog parks. Here's my thing. If that's the kind of dog park we're going to have, I don't even want it. My thing would be, I think it would be really neat to have a wooded dog park. And a question, does it have to be run by Pioneer Park? Would it have to be over there?
It has to be run by the town's park service. Unless a private business would buy a piece of land and say they just want to do that.
And one more thought, and I'm done. The lot over by Ollie's, I don't even know if that's in Mooresville, but it's just a trash dump. People dump trash there all the time. I thought it would be really neat if owner, I just feel awkward calling the owner and going, hi, Mr. Stoops, can we use your business for, I just think it would be more classy and more professional if it was addressed by a town council. And the idea would be, would serve two purposes: be a dog park and amenity for the community, but also if there was a fence around it, would prevent these people dumping, large, huge loads of trash.
Yeah, I would definitely direct all of your concerns, if it's a dog park or anything with a park, to the actual park board.
Okay.
They have a separate budget that's like we do.
Cool.
We have these guidelines that we have to abide by. The park, even if we had the town were to say we want a dog park, we're going to do it. Even if we were to pay for it, it's still a town project, and then the park would take it over and maintain it.
Well, I know that Brent Callahan, I know that he was against it. I respect his opinion. He's got some good reasons for not wanting it. So.
Well, Brent's no longer here.
But he's no longer there.
So,
There's
again,
that.
they have public meetings. I would bring it up to them.
Okay. I'll just pay better attention to future.
No, absolutely. Thank you for sharing all that.
Remind me when the park board meeting is?
Hang on. I will go to the town Facebook page that posts all the monthly meetings.
I will say our meetings aren't normally this long.
No, it's about 45 minutes longer than normal.
Longest meeting we've ever had. So you can come again and it won't be
You
long.
jinxed us, Adam. You jinxed us.
I was doing that earlier.
I brought in a hobby. I'm opening poop bags for. I'm volunteering over at the Furry Friends, and opening these bags is so time consuming. I thought, some people knit, crochet. I open these stupid bags.
So March 14th was their meeting for this month.
Okay.
I don't know when they're April
11th
April 11th.
is what
there
it
you
says on the town website.
go. Okay. April 11th at the library, I assume?
7 to 8 park board meeting. I'm trying to see. Yeah, Mooresville Library.
Okay.
I'm sorry. When did you say?
Monday, April 11th, 7 to 8 p.m. We'll see if they do better staying on track than we did tonight.
7 to 8 p.m.
Sorry.
Yes.
At the library center?
Yes.
Okay.
Mooresville Library.
Okay.
Yep.
Does the town usually put anywhere on for citizens interested in applying for boards? Is that?
It is on the website. There is a whole, process. There is vacancies. I don't know of any vacancies right off the top of my head unless, not to dive into it, but most of our boards, because we are a Republican majority, actually we bordering on a supermajority here in Morgan County. I believe there is one park board. I just wanted to ding that out, Dana. Park board opening for a non-Republican, a Democrat or a Libertarian. So I think that's,
For a non-Republican,
so,
but it could be a Democrat or a Libertarian.
yes, you have to,
Switch.
there are legal ramifications.
Okay.
So I think that's
I hear
I think that's the only one that's open currently.
you. Cool, thank you for the info.
Yeah, a lot of boards are appointed annually,
Okay.
so I would look around the end of the year for like the stuff coming in the following year, just to, if you're interested.
Definitely interested, thank you.
And hit up your council member, whoever's in your district. Because it's usually by the town council.
This,
Usually by the town council, so that's why I meant like that's.
yeah, this is the Redevelopment Commission. The town council, we work at the behest of the town council.
Okay, yeah, I've been to some of those meetings.
Okay.
I just see like, this is more interesting, because I'm very interested in trails and things that are going on outdoors, so.
I would definitely look at the park board, so. Danny, you got anything?
What are you laughing at, though?
Oh, because he said bordering on a supermajority. You guys have a monopoly. Every elected official in Morgan County is a Republican.
Right.
More than a supermajority.
Just,
That's a monopoly.
I just wanted to throw that out because, you know, Danny. All righty, back to the agenda, the review of claims.
I make a motion that we accept the claims in the amount of $15,851.46.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. For the good of the order, Commissioner Taylor.
Nothing here.
Commissioner Heinrich?
The last meeting, I brought up the police department's request, and they've contacted me since then. I know one of the things we wanted was an updated estimate. I know they're working on getting that. They would like to get on our next month's agenda if possible. So I just wanted to bring that up, because I also wanted to, I know Adam said, if we decided to do anything, there's some things we'd have to do before that. So I'm bringing it up now just in case there's something that we would need to get started on, or we wait until we see that and then we get going.
Kind of need to know what the scope of what they're asking for and everything is.
All right. That's all.
Commissioner Cole?
Great discussions today. Appreciate everyone willing to chime in, so that's it.
Well, the reason we ran a little long is one, good news, and two, as chairman, I have much more fun at these meetings. So, again, good discussions, good back and forth. I think the public will appreciate that. At 6 o'clock right here, we will post an executive session if we need one. It is the annual report, so.
We can do that notice then.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Hey, thank you.
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you so much. We are adjourned. See you next month. Hey, that is the day after May 4th. So, just throwing that out there.
Notice, right?
I was trying to think if it was.
Because we had to email it and put it in the paper, or do we just, I think we need to.
No, I was thinking back to when I was in high school.
Yeah.
We didn't grow anything. Chris, I only did intro, right? It was only like quarter. We didn't go whole semester.
Thank you.
I remember learning how to
I'm
walk.
like, I just said May, and I'm like, it's not May.
I did grow tomatoes and peppers one year though.
Yeah.
Bought my girlfriend that year.
You want this?
Ninja, which means I had excellent salsa for football season. I
Okay,
got the
yeah.
5-gallon buckets on the porch.
Before you guys run off, we got signatures for financials and all that stuff.
What was your name, miss? I think,
My name?
yes,
Is Darla Jones?
Darla Jones?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
sir.
I think you'll need that for the minutes.
Oh, I know her.
Oh, okay.
I had already
Well,
put it
there-
in
Well,
on
thank
my
you.
notes, so.
I got a question. It's quick. If it's not, just tell me to hit the road.
No.
You're running. I've seen your signs. You're running. How does that work? I mean, are you all running and you have signs up different places, or does
no.
your term up and you gotta rerun? Is that
So
how-
he's
No,
running
our-
for county council, right?
Yeah, I'm running for something completely different than this.
And this is all appointed by the town council.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is appointed by the town, so you'd be keeping this and doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just.
In theory, he could.
I'm kind
theory.
of, the only thing I'm really used to about government is complaining about it on the internet, you know, about how, who irritates me and who whatever.
Which is all of us.
But, which is all of us, yeah, yeah, but local politics, I don't.